Hey, welcome to Mended Futures, where real stories remind us that broken doesn't mean the end. It's just the beginning of something new.
I'm Evan Bergener.
And I'm Liz Mahan. We're the new Season 2 hosts, and together our goal is to share powerful, true stories of resilience, redemption, and hope.
Each week, we'll walk with people through the valleys and celebrate the moments when light breaks through.
Because every future can be mended, one story at a time.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 5 of the Mended Futures Podcast. Today, we're welcoming our CEO, Dr. Jeff Nitz. He has a few more letters behind his name than he did the last time he was on this show. Welcome, Jeff.
Good to be here.
Yay.
Hi, Evan. Hi, Liz.
Hi, Jeff. So what I would love to do is just jump right in, because I know you've done this before and we kind of covered some of your background and everything, but would love to know now from a CEO perspective, what you're kind of envisioning for 2026, which we'll kind of talk about and discuss today. So I would love to know what personal values have helped you step into your role of the CEO of 518.
Yeah. Well, interestingly enough, over the weekend, I spent time with my mom out in Indiana. And I'm looking at my 94-year-old mom going out to shovel snow because she insisted that she do it, not me, because she really enjoys doing that. And that kind of, in a small microcosm, reflects the work ethic that my family taught me, both my mom and dad. So I frankly, for the last 6 months, I've been doing better part of 2 jobs. And so that work ethic that my parents taught us, all of us 7 kids, was helpful, right? To kind of manage what's been going on. So that was a good gift from my parents, no doubt. And then I'd also say the second part of that too is it's not so much a personal value, but a personal theology. And it's kind of related to this idea of, if you know the Heidelberg Catechism, that I belong to my Savior, Jesus Christ, body and soul. It's a longer response than that. But bottom line is that my identity is held secure because I'm loved by the God of the universe. And so, you know, I think moving into maybe a weightier position holds greater opportunities for bigger failures, right? And I don't know too many of us that want to come into work and say, yeah, I dropped the ball big time. But when I know that no matter what happens today, Jesus loves me. I mean, as simple as that. To me, that's really grounding for this role and kind of moving into this space because I don't know about you, but I too have insecurities. I don't want to fail. I don't want to mess up a really good thing that we're doing here at 518. It also helps to know that He's sovereign, right? Just knowing that there's nothing that can happen today that He hasn't orchestrated. Yeah. I mean, I have to still do my part in terms of how I respond to the opportunities that God puts in front of me, the people He puts in front of me, but He is sovereignly in control of this organization. 518 is not mine. It's God's organization. So, and kind of on a related note, even though I carry this role of CEO or the big cheese, as some people will refer to me, I'm not any more significant than when I was a line worker, right? My roles and responsibilities have changed, but it doesn't make me any more significant, right? You and I are serving an organization's mission, and we're here to bring honor to God through every day of our work. It's as simple as that. So I don't know, that's just kind of a grounding thing for me too. I just have a different role than I did 6 months ago or 20 years ago or 40 years ago, right? So that's all.
So the title's changed, but the man hasn't.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I love that. And I mean, how freeing is it to have that big picture perspective that your identity in Christ dictates how you approach your job, and it's not the opinions of others and like what is defined as success or failure in this world. You've got more of that eternal perspective in that approach to your work. So I want to give you hats off for kind of keeping that as you've sort of risen through the ranks here at 518. Kind of a follow-up. What about your background in social work and as a foster parent yourself has informed your work here at 518?
Yeah. I was just sharing with somebody here recently about this too. My wife and I did foster care with a number of kiddos, and 2 of those kids ended up becoming a permanent part of our family. And then, so we learned a lot about something called trauma, which interestingly enough, when we were fostering, that really wasn't a topic, and how attachment and trauma kind of go hand in hand. That really wasn't something that we were trained in. I mean, as a social worker, I had my MSW. That was just not on the radar yet in the field. But I think how that informs me now, especially given my doctoral program in traumatology, how trauma affects individuals, families, and communities, is the incredibly profound effect that early childhood experiences have. Childhood experiences, 0 to 18, how it has a profound effect on us in moving into adulthood. And that a lot of what we see in terms of community ills and struggles really goes back to that. I mean, I know increasingly counselors say when they're talking with their counselors early on doing an assessment, they need to know what kind of adverse childhood experiences that they had early on, because that will likely inform a lot of the work that they're going to do in counseling, right? Trauma has this really profound effect on people, and it has a generational cycle aspect to it, that trauma begets more trauma. Hurt people, right? And until we get to a place where we're able to process, pull that stuff out and take a look at it and make sense of it and be able to say, okay, those lies that I experienced from trauma are not true, right? What is true about me? Really true. That I am lovable, that I have significance in this world, I have something to bring to this world, and all those things usually, and that people aren't always going to betray you, right? Some people may, but that doesn't mean all people are. The world is not necessarily always unsafe, right? All those things that trauma tells you can be processed, made sense of. So I think what doing that with kids in my family, right, day in, day out, was realizing the power of those. Then that made me, frankly, a much more strong advocate for saying, we've got to do something about that. We've got to focus a lot of our work on healing the impact of that and stopping that generational trauma cycle that just keeps happening. And we see the impact of that in our community. If every one of our kids got off into by 18, feeling like they were lovable and they had something to offer this world and they could trust in big people, can you imagine how our community would be changed if they had that experience? And I think that's a significant part, increasingly, what we need to be doing here at 518.
Absolutely. And how much more free would people walk around knowing that, and it's like, that's what Christ calls us. But when you're not seeing it from people in your life that are supposed to be caregivers or taking care of you, it's hard to believe that for yourself, and also hard to believe that Christ fits into that role too as a caregiver.
Well said.
Awesome.
Yep. In fact, I would say that can be the healing relationship.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If someone does not have that kind of healthy relationship to help people kind of figure this out, what their trauma told them, many people have found that healing happens because of the loving relationship they have. I mean, they can experience Christ's love, right? And because of Scripture, they realize there's something much more true about who they are than what their trauma told them. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well said.
I love that. That's awesome. So shifting gears a little bit, I would love to know from a vision perspective, and now we're starting off a new year and it's 2026. I'd love to know what you're kind of envisioning for this new year, specifically at 518. What things are you looking forward to? What are you excited for with 2026?
I don't know if we told you yet, but we're moving into a new building.
We are?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
A new headquarters.
Yay.
Yes. Yeah. So we're going to be joining 3 of our buildings. We'll talk a little bit about that more a little bit later, but I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
I think that holds a lot of promise for us and what we're trying to accomplish here in our community. But besides that, I got 4 other areas I'd like to share with you some things. One of which you may be aware of, and that we've been working on increasing alignment on some things, right? There's been some confusion about Vision 30 within the organization, and really understanding what that is, how it's going to happen, what's the gathering, kind of an element that's key to Vision 30. And so we've been trying to provide clarity to that. We sent out recently an FAQ to all staff that is a response to some of the key questions that staff have had as I did my listening tour about Vision 30. So that's one part. We already began doing that. Now we're going to be tackling this idea of the focus areas that came with the logic model, how our focus area is going to be kind of changing our structure, how we do the work that we do at 518. So nobody wants to work in a setting where they feel like there's a lack of clarity. They don't know how their work ties to the overall mission.
Absolutely.
And we want to really work on that, making sure that every staff person has a clear line of sight to what we're trying to accomplish, every one of us.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of those things we're going to continue. In fact, just yesterday, the executive leadership team spent almost 6 hours focusing on focus areas and making sure that we have a response to a number of the questions, again, that I heard during my listening tour and that people shared with Brandis here recently. So that's one thing. We're going to be digging more into our metrics as well, that people need to know, are we winning or losing, right? And being really clear about what we're measuring and what we're not measuring. And I think that's just so key for us to say whether or not we're on track with our mission or we're not. So that's a second thing. Thirdly, I want us to be moving in more and more into helping our staff be effective ambassadors. They go out into the community. Certainly donor engagement, you guys understand the importance of that, right? When you're going out, how to message the organization, what we do, why we do it, how we do it, is so important. But I want to make sure another layer of our staff are really equipped to do that. So through training and practice, we're really launching out many more ambassadors to do that effectively. And then, I mentioned some things about trauma here. My goal is to say, we have lots and lots of folks that are certified, I'm thinking of counselors in particular, certified clinicians who can respond to some of the most significant traumas that people have experienced, so that real, legitimate, deep healing can happen for folks. And so for all of our staff, but especially our counseling clinicians, we are training people in some of the best treatment modalities that are out there. And we would be known, frankly, as the best counseling agency for helping folks overcome that. Just seems like, a lot of the services have a value to them, but it starts kind of from the inside out. Folks that are coming to us that are dealing with some of those issues that they experienced for decades, oftentimes, we can help them heal from that because God has given us the opportunity and ability to provide legitimate healing to some of those deep relational wounds.
Absolutely.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing all those internal improvements. It seems like, we start from the inside so that we can better serve people externally, right? And we did mention Vision 30 right there at the beginning. For those in the audience who may not be familiar with Vision 30 already, could you give us like the 1,000-foot view of what that is and maybe how this new building is going to help us progress towards Vision 30?
Yeah. So Vision 30 is this dream that started on July 3rd, 2017 to say, by 2030, the end of 2030, how do we make sure every child is safe in their own family or supported in another family by a faithful community? And so we've been working, probably the best indicator of that is to say how many kids are in foster care here locally, right? That's a good indicator. We're not trying to eliminate all things related to foster care because there's always going to be a place for foster care. But if we can address the factors that cause foster care, then we're off to a good start. Hence trauma, right? Trauma. So, and what was the second part of your question? I'm sorry, Evan.
Oh, yeah. Just how do you envision the new building helping us further progress towards Vision 30?
Yeah. So, the biggest issues that we struggle with in our community aren't going to be achieved or dealt with effectively by just one organization, right? The city has services that they provide. Those are useful, but they're not solving our community's biggest problems by themselves. We have nonprofits doing really great things in the food security and child welfare, right? All these different needs, counseling, et cetera. But none of them by themselves are able to address our community's biggest problems, right? We turn on the news and we hear about some things that are happening in our community that just make us shake our heads and go, wow, that we keep dealing with the same issues. And so I think the best way of dealing with that is to say, let's link arms together. Let's come up with better solutions, more coordinated services for addressing our biggest issues here in our community. So I'm a really staunch proponent of collaboration. And I think this new space, going to the new space, it's going to have an event area. One of the things we're planning to do shortly after we move in is host what we're calling Rooted Together, a conference that brings local faith-based organizations and leaders together to say, how can we do that collaboration much more effectively? What gets in the way of collaborating, right? And we're bringing in a speaker, an author, Peter Greer, who's written a book that's speaks really well to this called Rooting for Rivals. And so we're going to be able to pick his brain. He'll be sharing some of the things he's learned in this space as well. So having a space where we can gather folks together. And one of the things I'm emailing somebody today actually about this. He envisions having a group of professionals in the IT, marketing, special event, IT, HR space, that would love to help nonprofits, right? They have skills and abilities, knowledge. They would love to help nonprofits. It would be kind of a cause giving for them. But getting together and coordinating those things, they need space to do that, right? They can sit in a local coffee shop, but sometimes there's not space to do that. It's not quiet enough to do that. But we're going to have space in our new building for that, conference rooms to gather and plan out how they're going to be able to support local nonprofits doing great things, but may not have the resources to really afford full-time people or maybe even part-time people. But you got local professionals saying, I'd give a few hours a week to help somebody, right? Maybe even donor engagement experience.
Yay.
Absolutely.
So fun.
Right.
One thing I'm really excited for with the new building is the emphasis on community collaboration, because it makes me think of the Bible passage of talking about the importance of like the foot operating as the foot, the eye operating as the eye, because we can truly work in our strengths. Like how you were talking about the HR and marketing professionals coming in to help nonprofits, that's their expertise. They're working in their strengths to make an impact in the community. And you with a strength in leadership, you're impacting the community. Us with our relational skills and intentionality there, impacting the community. So I think it's really encouraging to hear the excitement around the community collaboration with the new building, but also just the emphasis on it and the encouragement of you can operate in your strengths and make an impact right where you are. Right on. So very excited about it. It's awesome. So can you share a little bit about how this new building came about, what prompted the transition, whatever you want to share on that?
Yeah. So Mr. Day, Robert Day, our former CEO, I'm trying to remember when it was, but 4 or 5 years ago, one of the things he challenged the senior leadership team at that point, SLT, was to say he had Vision 2.0. And one of those elements of Vision 2.0 was to say, we need a new building that's more centrally located here in Lynchburg, because, Windhurst is kind of on the far western side of Lynchburg. And it isn't necessarily real close to a lot of the families that need our services, right? Some do, right? People from all socioeconomic levels could use our services at times. But the most at-risk families are closer into the city, right? And so he challenged us with that. I remember a number of times he and I would go out and look at buildings that were coming on the market and seeing what was available. And there's one that looked really good, and then it was bought out from under us. We looked at some others, but they were never. There was always some significant issues like environmental issues, like really serious environmental issues, or no counseling, right? So you get a big building that it could accommodate what we were trying to accomplish, but it has 10 or 15 parking spots. And we're thinking, okay, how many other buildings are we going to have to buy and tear down to make enough space for what we need? So that's a significant issue for anybody getting closer into the city, right? And then out of the blue, one of our staff was driving past on 501 and saw the old Phase 2 building and felt like out of the blue, she said, I had no reason to want to think this, but the thought came into her head, I need to check if that building is for sale. And it was. And last June, she texted me and said, Phase 2, that building is up for sale. And so that prompted a series of conversations and negotiations that ultimately 6 months later resulted in us going to settlement and purchasing that building. And that really was before Mr. Day stepped back, not away from his role as CEO, it was really kind of a dream come true to be able to say, we got the building and it's going to be a great fit. And it has 350 parking spots.
That's just
so
a few more than 12.
Not 10 or 15.
Yeah.
I think that's going to do us for a while.
For sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I love that story so much because it's such a God thing, right? It's a commute that you make so many times a week, and you just everybody gets that tunnel vision when you're going home. I know I do.
Mm-hmm.
And you could easily just miss what God has for you over here, right? Like you're just so zoned into what's going on right in front of you. But all it took was that one moment, and all of a sudden all these different events coming down the line, and now we're moving in tomorrow, right? We're going to move in tomorrow. Is that the timeline?
I'd like it to be. Yeah. Because we're having to move around here a little bit, aren't we? Yeah. Yeah. No, we're hoping to, and I'm going to say this, even though Rachel may struggle with this, but by the end of August, every one of us is going to be in our new space. And I say that given the fact that I will be hoofing furniture through the night hours if I have to in my pickup truck to get us in there by July or August 31st. I'd like to say July 31st, but August 31st is the date. And I mean it. I'll be hoofing. I don't care how long I got to work. I'll be putting furniture together. I love doing that, actually.
That's that work ethic.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And we know you mean it. I mean, some of these cleaning days that we've done in this building, Jeff has been right there, hands and knees, cleaning and taking things apart with the rest of us. So he means it for sure.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
Yeah. That will happen. Yeah, in part because, again, that Rooted Together conference is coming in November, and we need to be all settled and ready for that, right? So a lot of people are working very diligently to make this happen. Yeah. So,
and again, like operating in their strengths, which I think is really cool, seeing it from the back end of things, just the way that people are it's really cool to see the teamwork behind the scenes of it, which is really awesome. Yep. We touched on a little bit, but I wanted to ask you if there was anything else. What difference do you see our new building making for us as a staff at 518 in our community?
Yeah, I think I maybe alluded a little bit to this already, but I'm looking at this almost from like a debutante ball sort of perspective. For a long time, we've been the quiet agency doing these prevention services. For a long time, we did group homes, right? But we've been quietly doing our work, even as we've been growing our scope of services and the number of people we've been serving over the last 10 to 15 years pretty substantially. But when you move into a building that a lot of people are aware of, that visited there, that went there for the big concerts and such, and the fact that it's right on 501, our major highway going through Lynchburg, that kind of puts you on the map. And we're getting a fair amount of interest in 518 just by virtue of we're the one who bought the old Phase 2 building, right? So that's what I mean. It's our coming out party, and I'm looking at this as an opportunity for increased visibility about our services, what we do, our mission, why we do it, and this idea of really expanding on our belief that collaboration is key to this, right? To our mission certainly, but frankly, being a light and hope to our community, working with other folks doing great work, finding out new solutions, innovative ways of meeting our family's biggest needs here locally. I don't know what that's going to mean all entirely, but it's going to mean we're going to change and come up with some pizzazzy ways of addressing those needs. That's a word I'm guessing you haven't used recently, is it?
Pizzazzy.
That would be a first on the podcast.
Is that right?
I need to sprinkle that into my regular vocabulary. Pizzazzy.
Okay. All right.
I feel like Jeff's always teaching us new words, honestly, and sayings.
Yeah, it's about a weekly occurrence, but I appreciate it.
Think about that. Pizzazzy. It just, right?
It just feels good.
It just does. It feels good.
It's like cue confetti.
Yeah.
So how do you see 518 bringing unity around our mission, big picture, in 2026 and beyond this?
Yeah. Well, from a unity perspective, I'm going to take a little bit of a detour here and just say, I think part of it starts with how we frame our mission. And I alluded to this again earlier, but for a while here, we've been talking about that we're against foster care. We're against the things that contribute to foster care. And we are, right? We don't want bad things happen to kids, so that the state has to intervene and do a dramatic thing, which is remove kids forcibly out of a family.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big deal. That's a powerful move on the part of the state. I want us to be for something. And more than against that, I think we need to be even more clear about what we're for. And I say that in part because I don't think most people give foster care a second thought. It's just not on their radar. Mm-hmm. It is for us as staff. We think about it because it's in the space. But most people, if you do a little polling on the street, people walking past our building and say, what do you think about foster care? I don't know. Probably good. I think it's good. Kids need safe time. People know what it's there for, but they don't give it much thought. If we ask people instead, do you think that strengthening families and getting kids off to great starts in life is important? They would say, heck yeah, right? That's important, either because they got that and know how important it is, or because they didn't get it and wish they had.
Right.
So I think having a unifying message that is much broader in scope. We are for strengthening families because our community is only as strong as our families are strong. And because that's the only way we're going to get our kids off to a great start. I think a lot of people would go, yeah, I'm for that. Being for something, frankly, I think is a lot more empowered than what you're against. So our messaging, I think, is frankly something that we're working on as an organization, right? Who is 518? Well, we're not counseling. We're not family care. We're not community collaboration. Those are our services. Those are kind of areas of focus. But we are 518. We're one organization that is about strengthening families to help kids get off to a great start. So that unifying message, I think, is really important. And then secondly, I would see this notion of collaboration, of us literally and figuratively providing a space for a dramatic increase in the amount of collaboration that happens between nonprofits is really big. I think a lot of people would say we are a community that is wealthy when it comes to the number of nonprofits, all the different local entities doing great work in our community. But most people would also say, if you've been in this nonprofit community for a while, would say we stink at coordination among the nonprofits. That kind of collaborative, coordinative.
There's another new word.
There it is. It is. That's a new word. It's a good word. That's where we don't really do very well in that space. And I think we can provide because of I think we have the right mentality. And this goes back to July 3rd, 2017, just a little history lesson here. When it was Mr. Day said, what if? This idea of having no kids in foster care, right? No kids. Oh, that's crazy, right? I think we realized right away that's not happened because little old Patrick Henry Family Services is doing this. This has got to be a community-wide initiative that tons of people, an army of people say, I know this is important and I'm willing to be involved in whatever way they can be involved, right? And so this idea that, I would say organizational humility. We know we don't have all that it takes. God's blessed this organization with talented staff and some resources here in this community. But it pales in comparison to the needs that our local families that are at risk will need. It's way more than what we can provide. And I think that organizational humility creates a posture and a position for us to say, we need all of us. We need every organization playing a significant role. In fact, if we can help every organization, every person kind of up their potential, right? Move into their potential. That's where we can see some really cool things happening. And we play, I think, a bridging, supportive role towards that kind of stuff. And that's what I long to see. Again, maybe more than just the talking of it, but the doing of it increasingly here in our community.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Wow. I really want to echo again that sentiment. I don't want to miss the being for something and not just against, whether we're talking about foster care, we're talking about personal beliefs, whatever it might be. It's very easy to come up with being against something, to criticize whatever it may be. But at the end of the day, it is a lot more important. Like, what are you for then? What are you willing to take a stand for?
Yeah.
And I think it makes me think about the everyday person that might be listening to this podcast, and they hear all these things and they're like, yeah, I am for strengthening families, improving outcomes in our local community.
Mm-hmm.
So to that person that really wants to get involved, but maybe isn't sure how, what opportunities do you see that they could be involved in our mission in 2026 and beyond?
Yeah. So I'll take a page from our former chief program officer, Claudia Fletcher, who would have said, hey, you need to learn about Care Portal and get your church involved in Care Portal.
Mm-hmm.
I won't go on long about that, but it's an incredible way for churches to meet the needs of at-risk families who may be in your neighborhood, maybe a block or two away, that you'd have no idea that they were struggling, and that through some tangible ways you can help family in a significant way. So first off, that's one way of being involved, right?
Yes.
And then I would also say join the collaboration train that I've been talking about here. So, if you're one of those professionals that has knowledge or skills in a certain area, think how you could support a local nonprofit that may not have lots of resources, and your hour, 2, 3 a week could make a significant difference just based on what you know.
Mm-hmm.
Again, IT, HR, event planning, donor engagement, marketing, all kinds of stuff, accounting. You could play a really significant role for those organizations. And then I mentioned this Rooting Together conference where we're bringing together people of faith to learn more about how we do this thing called collaboration. What does that look like? What's the mindset of people that are doing collaboration effectively? And I would say to you, join up. You're going to be hearing more about that. You'll be seeing save the dates and ultimately registration opportunities for that. But I encourage you to come out for that.
Mm-hmm.
Bring somebody that you know, maybe a few somebodies that you know, to say in your church, in your community. It could be business leaders, not just nonprofits, but who do you know that could really benefit from saying, let's link arms together and do something really powerful in our community, and learn how to do collaboration well. So that's coming up next November.
Mm-hmm.
More information about that to be coming.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I think too, it's important because people can kind of count themselves out or think, what kind of difference can I make as just one person? But truly the impact goes so far of just everyday people and people just being generous with their time and the gifts and talents that God has given them. So I think it's important for listeners to know, don't downplay your impact and what the Lord has gifted you in, for sure.
Yeah.
In an effort to wrap this up, this has been so fun. I would love to know, Jeff, what gives you the most hope as you look forward to this year?
Yeah. So I would say most importantly, it's knowing that God holds this organization, and He has been blessing and using this organization in increasing fashion. There's a verse in Psalms 20 that says, some trust in chariots, some in horses, but we trust in the name of the Lord our God. And I think as long as that's where our real hope is. We have to have strategies, right? We got to have a plan. We got to hire well. We got to support well. We got to train our staff well, all those things. But ultimately, what gives me hope is that we serve a God who is great and powerful, and He cares about the orphan and the fatherless and the widow in our community, right? He cares about the little people, the poor, et cetera. And I think if our hearts are aligned with His, God blesses that. That's what I've seen throughout my career. And then secondly, I would say I'm amazed at the people that God gives us as staff to work alongside of, and great volunteers. But I get to come into work and serve alongside of people like the two of you that have great big hearts, want to see very cool things happen, want to make sure that your work matters. It's not making widgets, that I get to see people coming here with really good skills and great hearts, and wanting to live that out through their life, through their work, not just a little side thing at church that they do once a week or maybe once every other week, but daily, 40 hours plus a week. And that's pretty neat for me to see. That gives me hope.
For sure. For sure. This was such a great episode to start off 2026. I, for one, am just excited just to see how we just progress as an organization, but also just as individuals along for the ride within the organization. I think it's going to be really growing for all of us, not with just the new building, but for new opportunities that come from that. So I think this will be a cool thing to kind of grow through together and then look back maybe this time next year and just think, wow, like we have come so far and the Lord has brought us through so much. So I feel like this year is filled with a lot of expectation for what's to come and excitement. So I'm excited we all get like a front row seat at that. It'll be really, really great.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot to look forward to, a lot of anticipation. Thanks for filling us in on a lot of that exciting news and kind of the vision for 2026. And thank you for being on the podcast, Jeff.
My pleasure. Thanks, guys.
Yay, Jeff.
The Mended Futures Podcast is a production of 518 Family Services, formerly Patrick Henry Family Services in Lynchburg, Virginia. Our mission is to build communities of faithful relationships that ensure children are safe and families are restored.
Mended Futures are at the heart of who we are, our stories, our hope, and our vision. They aren't just stories we tell, they're something you can help create. When you give to 518, you're not just making a donation, you're stepping into someone's story. You're helping a family find hope, and you're helping our community heal.
Because of the generosity of people like you, reconciliation is happening in our community each day. Our donors further the mission of seeing every child with a thriving family supported by a faithful community.
We want to see Mended Futures for families in Lynchburg, Virginia, and the 4 surrounding counties. So we invite you to check out our website, 518.org/GiveMended. That's FIVE18.org/GiveMended. Join us in the ministry of reconciliation.